Alright, my name's Sam. Welcome to another video from the Jurassic Coast Trust. We are on North Swanage Beach. We just had a lovely walk up the promenade of Swanage, and we're out here in the World Heritage Site to have a look at some of the rocks that we don't tend to talk about very much. That is the Wealden group. They are a beautiful sequence of sandstones and grits and clays and silts and things, all sorts of different colours. Beautiful cliff line that they create. And they come sort of in the middle of the lower Cretaceous period. They formed between about 125 and 140 million years ago, and they were laid down by rivers. Now, just before they formed, you had layers of limestone called the Purbeck limestone group. They formed in swamps and forests and lakes and things like that. So you find all sorts of fossils like turtles and crocodiles and mammals and things like that in them. After the Wealden were laid down, you return to marine conditions. So you have some sandstone, and then you get into the chalk as well, which takes up the last 30 million years of the Cretaceous period, when sea levels were 200 meters higher than they are today. But the Wealden, this is formed very much on land. So as I say, they were formed by rivers. Now, where do those rivers come from? Well, from a place geologists refer to as Cornubia. So that really is what we today think of as Cornwall and Devon. So the highlands around what are Dartmoor. So that would have been high area that would have been eroding, draining down in this direction. Now you might think, well, there were loads of hills in the way for the water to get this far. But you've got to remember that back then, about 130 million years ago, none of those hills existed. It was all a lovely big valley that the rivers could flow down onto a big coastal plain. Beautiful braided networks of rivers flowing through. Well, it was quite a dry climate at the time, probably some flash floods. So not as green and pleasant as England is today, a little bit drier than that. But forested, plenty of vegetation around. Sometimes there would have been fires and the trees would have fallen into the river and been buried, loads of other stuff happening, and sometimes there were dinosaurs roaming around. Sadly, we do not have rocks here stuffed full of dinosaur fossils. Over there, just on the other side of the sea, behind that boat, you can see the Isle of Wight, one of the richest sources of dinosaurs in Europe, and their dinosaur fossils are all coming from this material, the Wealden group. Why don't we have any dinosaurs here in ours? We don't really know, but we don't, which is a shame. But there are some of the interesting things to see. And there's something quite fabulous just over here. So this might look like just a big, hefty piece of charcoal. It'd have to be a pretty big beach barbecue to leave this behind, though, wouldn't it? No, this is in fact a massive piece of fossilised wood that's dropped out the cliff at some point in the past, and it's just looking like charcoal because that's probably what it was like when it was fossilised. A victim of one of these sorts of bushfires or something that was happening whilst the Wealden rivers were filtering their way through here, and dropped into the river and was buried on the riverbed at some point. And it just looks like it's completely charred. It's very hard and it's very heavy. Some of it's been mineralized by what looks like iron minerals and things like that in it, and there's lots of sulfur in there too, so it could be iron pyrites. But it's quite spectacular, and there are pieces of this all over the place. But if only it was a dinosaur though, hey.